What is going to happen with Judge Gull, the transcript of the closed door meeting, the attorneys that have been kicked off of the trial? Where does this all lead us to? Lots of missteps along the way. Here to discuss the latest in the Delphi murder case and investigation, Jennifer Coffindaffer, retired FBI special agent. Where do you think this is going right now? The new trial date set for October 2024. But if the attorneys are reinstated, they said they want to go to trial within 70 days. A lot is up in the air at this moment in time.
Well, I love that they say the 70 days because I think Richard Allen and really most defendants deserve that
Yeah.
to get their trials done as soon as possible. Um, so I think that that's interesting. They put that out there. I wondered if it might play into sort of some decision making that is going on right now. The 27th is when Judge Gull has to turn over her reasons for not wanting the transcript of that closed door meeting released. And, that's going to be really interesting to see what the upper court decides on that. They seem to me to have been a little bit short fused
Hmm.
on dealing with Judge Gold. And also, what's so interesting, Tony, Judge Gold just put out new uh, uh, orders unsealing information for the first time. And this is information dating clear back to June. I found that very telling.
Is she backtracking? Is she trying to correct these wrongs now that there's a microscope on her and people are going to start holding her more accountable?
That's what I see happening. There's very strict rules about sealing information.
Yeah.
It has to be for very specific reasons. You can't just seal a whole case away from the public eye.
Mhm.
That's not how our system works. You can do it if it could jeopardize somebody's life, if it could jeopardize ongoing investigation of somebody else you're looking at, which is again what the attorneys argued. The prosecutor said, well, listen, there's somebody else. We believe there was somebody else, said that in open court for all of us to hear.
Yeah.
And that was one of the reasons for the sealing. Was that true? I really wonder if
Yeah.
that's true or if they think Richard Allen acted alone. But they put it out there. And I see Judge Gold now going back and saying, wait a minute, I can't really support this being sealed and this being sealed and this being sealed. It's unbelievable, her undoing that.
And it is very interesting because, I mean, I understand at the beginning when you're in the investigative stage why you'd want that sealed. You don't want someone else to know. Maybe you're on their tail in terms of trying to investigate someone and making an arrest. But obviously, that has not happened. It's just been Richard Allen rotting in jail for the last year. Uh, but there were a lot of interests in other suspects. One of them, Ron Logan, the FBI going as far to say there was probable cause that he killed Abby and Libby. And the judge even agreed. You had tweeted about that recently. Do you think we're going to go any deeper in looking at more suspects, or does there need to be some sort of a larger reset in this case to go down that road? Are they just still going to keep trucking ahead on Richard Allen?
I think they're going to keep trucking on Richard Allen. I think that they have put all their eggs in one basket, if you will. I think a lot of the evidence actually points toward Richard Allen. He puts himself at the crime scene. Of course, so does Ron Logan.
Hmm.
Uh, but he also, this bullet, not spent casing, but just a bullet that would have been manually extracted, right? It was found near the girls, and that bullet has been traced back to his weapon. So you have that connection. And that's kind of a big connection, uh, Tony, but we've talked about this a little bit in the past. It's really going to come down to probably two different ballistic experts arguing whether that's truly the exact same tool marks that are on that casing.
How difficult
Um,
is that to argue in court? Because I know, I mean, we've heard, bits and pieces of that over some of the cases that we've been talking about this last year. I know there's a science to it, but I know it gets argued quite a bit in terms of how accurate it is.
Well, where this case is different than most, for instance, the Caitlin Armstrong case, where they had a very similar situation, those were spent casings. In other
Hmm.
words, the velocity of that weapon when it fired, the extractor and the ejector made marks on that casing when it expelled it from the gun. That's a whole different deal than when you manually eject something. It just doesn't have that velocity and power behind those tool marks being impressed on the casing. So while they still say, experts still say that they can show this sort of fingerprint on the casing
Hmm.
that's unique to that extractor and that ejector making, I think it will be much more easily argued by the defense than other cases
Yeah.
because of that.
Where do you think it's going to go with the Supreme Court once they hear the actual arguments? They hear or they see the transcript. They see exactly what Judge Gull was intending, or she expresses what she was intending in that closed door meeting. Where do you think that goes in terms of his attorneys being reinstated or not, and also her involvement with this case going forward?
Well, of course, part of it will come down to what was actually said behind closed doors. But I see a problem with not releasing that transcript because, again, does it fall into the category of it's if it released, somebody could suffer harm.
Hmm.
If it's released, can it expose, you know, part of the case that the prosecution is working on? Well, the answer to both of those is no.
Hmm.
And typically, those are the reasons that you seal.
Yeah.
And so I don't think it's going to have the reasons that you seal in place. I will be surprised, but I've been surprised before at times if they don't release that.
Hmm.
And I'm dying to see it.
Yeah. I mean,
I can't imagine what she said.
well, I mean, that's an interesting thing to me because we're talking. She now has what the 27th, I believe, to come back with the transcript and these answers. Why does it take? We're now talking. She's had several delays on this. 2 or 3 weeks to come up with basically a piece of factual information that should already be there. That you just here it is. Here's what it is. Why so long?
Well, she's trying to come up with case law, and it's not just her, right? She has her clerks working for her. She has probably grad students working for her and trying to come up with case law that would show why an in camera meeting should not be made privy to the public. That's what she's going to try to show, something very similar where the law has already been made so that the court can just follow the already made law. I think she's going to struggle with that.
Yeah, yeah. It's going to be real interesting to see exactly what comes out of this. Do you see anything damning enough where the Supreme Court makes some sort of ruling of changing the judge up in this case? I mean, has that happened before? Can that happen?
Well, it certainly can happen. It's already happened in this case.
Hmm.
In a way, I suppose it wasn't ordered. Judge Diener, the previous judge,
Hmm.
took himself off the case
Yeah,
for a variety of reasons. She could do that. She could be ordered off the case. But the question I think that is going to be interesting that the Supreme Court is going to be deciding, Supreme Court of Indiana, that is was leaving photos, crime scene photos on a table that is within your conference area, that is within your law office, is that considered gross negligence?
yeah,
Certainly negligent. It's
yeah,
negligent,
yeah.
that anybody else could have come in there and that they didn't. We don't even know, were they in a folder and the person was snooping? I mean, there's
Sure.
a lot of details that aren't super clear. But nevertheless, that's what that court is going to decide. And then to me, they've got to decide, well, if it was gross negligence, like Judge Gold said, that was her reason for kicking him off.
Hmm.
They were gross negligent. If they decide it is gross negligent, then you have to weigh, well, does gross negligence in one instance with these facts equal removing your lawyers and extending your time in a federal prison, or I'm sorry, in a top security prison facility? Does that equate that that should be the punishment?
Yeah.
but this person can't have the lawyers they want. So that it's big. I think they should be reinstated, quite frankly, and I think the transcript should come out. But of course, I'm not a Supreme Court justice, so
We'll see where this goes. Hopefully, there's more transparency and less kind of crooked behind the scene things going on at that level than has been going on in Delphi itself. Hey, it's Tony Brueski. If you want more of our interview with our guests, be sure to check out our podcast, Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. Just search that wherever you download podcasts and press subscribe. Also, you can check out our YouTube channel for the full video version of the interviews as well, under the same name, Hidden Killers with Tony Brueski. Check it out, subscribe, binge, and enjoy. Thanks for watching.